There I go, coughing just as it goes live because I never know how long the lag between me clicking the button and then going live actually is. It caught me teeny bit off guard there. Hello, one and all. Who's there? Luke, howdy. Megaleech, howdy. Aidsy is theoretically joining us soon. I was in communication with him a bit earlier this evening, and he's been doing some research into coronavirus. That ought to be a bit of a hoot. We'll see what he has to say about that. And here's it. Hello, Fox of Fate and Musical Aviator. Nice to see you all. It's the Billy Joel song, isn't it? Piano Man, the regular shuffle in. Good to see everyone. Just having a Pepsi for a change of pace tonight. And good evening to you, Miss Foxification. You sort of was like really agitated by the weird behavior of my webcam. Locust Trooper, I think, found the focus thing going in and out particularly off-putting. And it is a bit weird, I admit. I did actually find some apps designed to play with the camera. So the image quality might be a bit better because I played with it a bit. I didn't see a control on there for doing fixed focus, although I suspect it might be there, but we'll see. Oh, you got a week in Sydney, Musical Aviator. Nice. And oh yeah, with all the things, train derailed, a couple of light planes crashed into each other. Any form of transport can have anything go wrong, really. I mean, the number of accidents that happen with road vehicles is somewhat absurd, of course. It's weird. How many other things would we accept that kill as many people as cars and other vehicles do? Good. Now, the kitchen appliances are just making noise, which is awesome. What do you call the thing on the fridge that makes the noise? I bet someone will know. It's not a compressor, is it? The little thing on the fridge that goes off occasionally that says the fridge is doing a bit of work. But there's also a dishwasher over there, which I thought was finished, but then is it the compressor, Miss Foxgram? I'm not sure, because I'm really not a very handy person at all. It could be the compressor. I don't know. Oh, did I solve the green problem? Okay, well, you be the judge. This is, oh God, no, it's gray. It's blue, a blue-gray color. This is bright green. This is like a very bright green. It's meant to suggest peppermint. It could be to remove green altogether. I don't know. It's very weird. StreamYard does have a built-in green screen function. I could put my green screen. Where is it? It's settings, green screen. I can a well-lit green screen or blue screen is required. Oh, see, I can just fade out altogether, see? It's just me floating around in an image. Because I don't actually have a green screen behind me, but that's okay. Eclipse Peppermint is blue. There you go. Disfoxification, you think it's to do with infrared? Yeah, it is. It is absolutely surreal. This thing that it shows basically every color except green, which is weird. There's some yellow and there's red and there's blue. It doesn't like green. It's really strange. Very, very strange. I mean, I could play the settings. The app that does settings for the camera. I can't use the live streaming app at the same time as I'm playing with settings. Oh, I think Aisy's here. I see waving hands. Oh, he's got his Corona mask on.
Got my Corona mask on, big guy. I knew that I'd be talking to you, and frankly, take no fucking chances. When you've got an angry about, there's germs are following. Have you been to Hunan province in the last 2 weeks?
I have not. No.
I don't believe you. I've seen your bloody passport because I snoop around when I go to Studio Angry. I like to go through people's stuff. Got caught by young Ms. Angry, and she was pissed.
She give you a very good sing too.
She fucking got a knife out. She got a knife out. She carved, "I am very sorry to be a fuckwit" on my back. Can you imagine trying to explain that to clients? Anyway, so I've seen Angry's passport. He's been doing a lot of trips to Macau. Num say?
Yeah.
I think a lot of. I'm not saying bottom of the harbour tax scheme, though I've probably just said something that's a bit too old for anyone to understand.
Yes.
The Corona mask isn't bloody staying on right. I'm going to get germs and die. How am I going to drink my fucking... If I'd have spent much time in hospitals, Daisy, I wouldn't take any chances either. You'd be amazed, actually, at how resilient. Okay. Quick chance. Okay, that's it.
Who's here? Who else is in? Line Spider and Safa and Bobo and Charlie.
Oh, shit. That always puts me onto the private chat, and I'm never onto the live comments, and I don't know who's saying what. Not that I could read them anyway.
No,
but I like to know there's people and they're looking at me because I'm vain like that.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I found a newer laptop for you as well.
Cool.
I'll have to find an opportunity to get it to you, or for you to come over here or something. But I found it and fired it up and tested it, and it all looks hunky dory. And I think it's like a couple of generations newer than the one you're using, and possibly even a better webcam. You might be less washed out on the streams, which would be nice.
Have you ever thought that just might be my pallid skin color?
It could be, but
You heard Angry sneeze in my drink bottle. Thank you, Megaleech. Thank you for looking after me. And fuck you, Angry, for trying to kill me.
Hey. No, you're going to owe me now because you're getting something that you almost never get, and you're very excited when it happens. When I admit you were right and I was wrong. And I actually looked up, because I remember so much how flawed you were the last time I admitted to it. So I looked up. That was probably 8 years ago, because it was in reference to Gautier and that song that was heard everywhere, somebody that I used to know. And I was complaining that the dickheads on Triple J tended to pronounce like his real name. What's his real name? Wally DeBacker. He's South African, I think. But Gautier, and it's spelt a funny way, so you'd pronounce it the way. Is Gautier? He's French, yeah. I always forget if they're Italian or French or whatever. These people. They were pronouncing it Gaultier, and because the designer's name has an L in it. but the performer's name is Gotye. So there's not even an L. But I felt like they were pronouncing it Gaultier. And I was like, what the fuck? And you went, that's just a Sydney accent. And I went, don't be dumb. No, it's not. Why would someone in Sydney stick an L in? And then I listened to them for a while longer. And this weird fucking mannerism was in their accent. And it was in different words. And I thought they were just doing the thing because the stage name Gaultier was a pun on the fashion designer Jean-Paul Gaultier with the L in there. And you said, no, it's a Sydney accent. And I said you were talking horse shit. But then I listened to them for a while longer and oh my God, he's right. And you were absolutely floored when I said, I think you're right and I was wrong. One came up just the last week. Last week we were talking about...
Let me just breathe through this.
Yeah, I know.
I just want to breathe. Hang on, I've got a blood pressure machine here.
Yeah.
Let me just get out the blood pressure machine.
Once or twice a decade event. So,
Just
is
get
that a blood pressure thing?
Yeah, it's a blood pressure monitor.
Sleeve.
Should have the cuff with it. Yeah, there's the cuff. Okay.
Okay. But last week we talked about I made a drink with Irish whiskey, and you said, "Is that a single malt or a blend?" And I said, "You don't really say that with Irish whiskey." And you were a bit affronted that I just put you down. And after I don't know why, but I looked it up and said, is there such a thing as single malt Irish whiskey? And it's exactly the same rules as Scotch whiskey, single malts and blends, exactly the same. So you were right and I was wrong. You do have single malt and blended Irish whiskies, which it's not on the bottles. So I didn't think so. Don't even know why I looked it up. Some nagging thing was probably going, he's probably right. But yeah,
I don't even need to put the fucking blood pressure cuff on now. I'm going to have an aneurysm as it is. Yes, Irish whiskey and Scotch whiskey are in fact made by the same processes, except that the meal is different plants and the water and soil is markedly different. Where the fuck did I put the container? Oh, here it is. Is markedly different, and as a result, you get a really different tasting whiskey. And it's I thought whatever. And then I was at a bar being wined and dined by an elderly gentleman.
Yeah.
I won't go into it too much. And he said, "Oh, you like the Scotch, do you?" Which is rare in someone so young. And I was playing up the young thing because that was what he was paying for. And essentially, I said yes. He said, "Oh, do you like the Scotch or the Irish?" And I went, "Oh, I do like the Scotch. I've only really had the Irish in the cream drinks, Yeah. He said, "Oh, you've got to try." And so he set up a range of the Scotches and the Irish. And I just thought, oh, yeah, here we go. You don't have to get me drunk, mate. You've already paid. And as it was, you start to taste the regions of the Scotches really quite pronouncedly. And then you don't so much taste the regions of the Irish, but the Irish is so fucking different from the Scotch. You know that there's a divide. It's across the sea, and of course the plant meal's different. The proportions are different. The water going through the stone is different, and the soils are different, and it all comes through. Oh, their smoking is slightly different. They're malting. Okay, so they put smoke through the little to make them think that they're about to sprout, and then they trick them and put them and mash them up and make them yeast, and they go blub 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 blub, and then they kill them off. Then they boil them out, and then it's like ta-da, whiskey, and then they put them in kegs and they make it age, and then they make people who like to tell stories pissed. That's it.
I was for a laugh looking up whiskies because, of course, there are rules. Of course, Scotch whiskey has to be distilled in Scotland. Irish whiskey has to be distilled in Scotland. The American whiskies, bourbon and rye, aren't limited to location, but the content of them. Bourbon has to be 51% corn, and rye has to be 51% rye. So bourbon is broadly sweeter than rye. Rye has a bit more of an edge to it than bourbon does.
Yep.
But they do have to be bourbon to be. I'm not sure about rye, but to be bourbon, it does have to be distilled in the US.
Yes.
Even though it's associated with the South and Kentuckians specifically, it doesn't have to be from Kentucky or the South. Just let's be in the US.
Just think about your bourbon making venues as down the Appalachian chain. Your bourbon comes from your moonshiners. That's where it all comes from.
Because they were Irish and Scottish outcasts as well.
Exactly. So all the way down the Appalachians is where the shiners were doing their thing because they went broke in a hurry after they got fucked over by the mining companies and the everyone really, and they found a market for cheap booze, and then of course there was the prohibition. Thank you. So then there was a market for booze of any kind, and if you were any good at it, you could sell it for a premium at speakeasies for rich people. So, the mob used to look after you. The shiners then effectively got the best areas for water, got the best areas for growing grains, and it was an accident that they were using copper. Copper back in the day was cheap. It was the cheap metal. Stainless steel, very expensive, but copper, very, very cheap. So they would make their pots and their fittings and their I was going to say cracking towers out of copper.
Yes.
What they didn't know was, that if you don't have copper in the process, there you go. If you don't have copper in the process, it's actually poisonous. You need copper to you need to run the alcohol to distill through copper, otherwise it will be poisonous to drink. And so these days a lot of places run their distillate pipe through big stainless steel towers, but they've got copper almost like those protein shake balls all through them, so that the distillate runs up through that. So all of these things come together, and you get places that have got access to water, access to grain, access to roads, and the guys that could band together their money and get licenses first. And the guys that could get licenses first basically started up their distilleries first because they popped up magically like they were already there. And then what they then did was straight away went around and bought up all the best moonshiners up and down the mountains. They basically went to the guy and said, hey, I have a job for you. You don't have to hide out in the woods anymore. You'll be respected. You'll have a house. You won't have to carry kegs on your own. And they would go, great. And so, they got all the best talent, they got all the best stuff, and then your American whiskey is born. What is interesting is, to me, is that American, it's both, I think, rye and bourbon must not be put in a used barrel. It must be in a new flame-scorched oaken barrel, never used before. And then, boom, and it goes, gets tapped in. And then when it's gone through its life cycle, the Scotch distillers will buy the old bourbon barrels and put a first run Scotch through. Then they'll take that and put it in a musket cask or a port cask, and then they'll put that back in the bourbon barrel that they had. And this must, infuses this barrel, and they get these barrels with a whole bunch of flavour and character, and they can start to use those barrels for single malt specific tannins and flavours down the line. And sometimes they have these special barrels that are like 200 years old, but they've got a specific record of what's been in them, so that they know they can get these very specific flavours for something they're going to put down for a long time, But no, the Americans, no, they'll have none of that. Thank you. There's also a particular way with the rye. I'm pretty sure it's the rye that they filter the first run of the beer. They get these. God, I can't remember the name of the wood, but they call them ricks. Hey,
sorry, I was looking up. Rye is also in new barrels, but it's oak barrels.
Oh, I'm talking about the filtering.
Oh, okay. Beer. Yeah, they have a few, depending on who the distillery is. I think
so. They have these things called ricks, and imagine like a big Jenga tower, but with spaces in, made out of little bits of wood, right? Built very carefully. So imagine 4 cubic meters, and these guys have spent all this time putting this together. Then they spray high-end alcohol from the early part of the run, which is poisonous, onto these ricks. Then they light it, whoomp, up it goes, and this burns down to charcoal. They collect up this charcoal, and that becomes the filter for from the beer going from the beer into the mash pot to distill. Oh, it's fascinating. Oh, your making of your whiskies just blows. Distilling generally. Don't get me onto sake. Don't get me onto sake.
You can get. It's actually quite easy to get home distilling kits now.
Yes.
So I was at a party a while back. Mrs. Angry, one of her longtime friends, they were born on exactly the same day. So they often have birthdays. And it wasn't this, might have been a year or two ago, at a joint party at a friend's place. And I played barman. I sort of had about 4 set cocktails I could make. Because I didn't take my whole kit. I took enough to make, I sort of declared a menu and said I could make 4 cocktails. And one guy there, he was a home distiller, and he had made, I guess it was a bit like Cointreau. It's a fruit liqueur, but I think he made it with lemons. So it wasn't like the Italian limoncello. It was like Cointreau but made with lemons, and it was fucking good. But he was explaining like, he can distill the friggin' rectified spirit. Like he gets it. He has a base that's like 90% alcohol, and then it goes through the process a bit and brings it down to about 40% alcohol, which is a a bit more acceptable.
There's a guy who calls the shots, all right, and then there's the temperer. Okay, the guy who calls the shots, and this is where the saying comes from. The first little bit of alcohol that comes out of the distillation process is toxic. It is actually very poisonous. You can use it for cleaning. You can use it for setting fire to things, but it is very toxic, and you may not drink it. So the guy who calls the shots has got to decide when the heads are finished and the body can come through and you can make booze out of it. Right. Then as you go through, it gets less and less alcoholic as you get to the tails. And you've got to decide when enough is enough, and you chop it, and that's the tails. You always put your tails back through your next distillation process because it mellows it out. It's an old trick. It's a beauty. Anywho, so then what you get is your temperer. And you were saying the rectified spirit there, and you could do all your processes. And what they do is they get the same water that they've been using to distill, and they get the different strengths. So each jar that comes out of the still is numbered, and they have less and less and less strength. And so they're put into a bowls, Jack Daniel's uses maple tree ricks, burnt into charcoal to make. Thank you, David Hill. Maple tree ricks. Booyah. Thank you,
Google. Yeah, I keep looking up on Google while we're talking about it too.
And basically, the temperer then basically mixes the different strengths of booze into water so that they come out evenly. Right. And it's all taste. There's no instruments, it's taste. So you've got to be able to drink and go, no, too much water, not enough water, this is this, I need more booze, and a proper temperer can make a whole batch exactly the same. And then they just put it all in a barrel and then stick it on a truck and smuggle it into town. Yeah. It's a fucking amazing thing. Yo, Angry Yo AIDS, he has a hanging fella's AIDS last time. I forgot to mention that your character reloads his dildo guns by fucking him, and that name is perversion. Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
Also, the alcohol thing, I was looking it up on Google because Megaleech asked, is it true sake is a beer or is it a wine? And I did quickly look it up, and because people often refer to sake as Japanese rice wine, and it's made by fermenting rice, so it's fermented, not distilled, which puts it in the wine and beer zone. But unlike wine, alcohol produced by fermenting sugar that's naturally present, sake is produced more like beer, where starch is converted into sugars. So stylistically, sake is a beer. It's a fermented drink, and its process is similar to the beer thing. It's not the wine uses the natural sugars in the grapes. Beer, you add starch to it. So it's fermented the same way beer is, but because it's rice, it's its own thing.
It's basically it stuffs a lot of people up because sake is both a wine and a beer at the same time, and its process is very torturous.
It's like a wine, but production-wise, its production method is closer to beer. But it doesn't like beer. It's not carbonated, so we tend to call it wine.
And it basically sits there as its own thing. And then to get it to get its different characters, then you've got to it's a basic distillation process, very basic distillation process. Well, no, I'm talking about the end of the process to get its different characters. Okay, so you got one batch of sake coming through, but you can then get 3 or even 4 different characters that you want. So some of them are best drunk cold, some of them are best drunk warm, some of them are best drunk hot. And you get different qualities from different kinds of rice and different kinds of treatment. Okay, so all of this is very controlled, right?
Yes.
At one point, there's a process where they throw the yeast on the bed of rice in the hot room. It's cooked rice, so it's like about that thick, and it's all in the hot room, and they shake this stuff all over, and for a minute, none of the men in the room is allowed to breathe because they don't want the koji, the yeast to be disturbed in any way. It's just got to settle on the rice and be left. It's got to stick to it, and you must not breathe. How did I become such a booze expert, Aidsy? Well, I do tend to enjoy. Well, I used to drink a lot, and I thought I better find out what the fuck I'm doing to myself here. And I was in a situation where I was drinking a lot of beer, and I was drinking 6-8 beers a night, and then going home. And then for a reason, we swapped pubs, me and my drinking buddy and flatmate. And we had our normal 6-8 beers, and 5 beers in, I was standing on my fucking head. And I was going, what the fuck's going on here? And we realised what had happened was that the pub that we were at before was watering down its beer. Upon confrontation, the publican said, "Oh yeah, we only do that when the coons turn up."
Oh God!
And we decided we will never drink in this establishment again.
No, that
will never happen again. We will be leaving this place, and this is no longer our drinking establishment. And we basically whispered the word around the other student type folk that this was what was happening, that they watered down their beer, and this is why. And the other student folk went, "Yeah, no." That's not okay. But what disturbed us was there were some student folk who went, "Oh, yeah, no, it's fair enough. Yeah, no, I think I'll go to a place like that." And we're like, "Oh, that's disappointing." But, identify, round up, torture. So, yeah, I was putting a lot of booze into myself, and I was also no longer into beer. It was just making me gassy, and I wasn't having any fun. I was a fat cunt. And then I was starting to get into Scotch. I still liked my Irish cream. And I thought, it's bloody expensive, this stuff. I wonder if I could make it myself like a beer, because you can make your own beer. But you know how so much homebrew tastes like shit?
Yes.
And you always tell the brewer that, "Oh, no, it's a nice drop." And it's not a nice drop. It tastes bloody awful.
Usually,
tastes like some duck's pissed in it. And what the trick is, and I was told this by a policeman, the trick is to boil the water before you put anything in it, because the water that comes out of your tap has chlorine in it to kill off greeblies and nasties, which is good for you. And the chlorine, once it's been processed through the beer, is the thing that gives that horrid high taste, that high tannin taste, that makes homebrew beer taste fucking awful. So if you boil your water for 10 minutes, all the chlorine boils out, and then you let it cool, then you do the thing, and then your beer batch comes out, and it's fucking awesome. So I thought, okay, there's a bit of tech here. I could do my own distilling. I could do that. I'm a bit clever. I know stuff.
Stuff.
And I know stuff. And the internet was just sort of starting to be the World Wide Web.
Yeah.
So I scanned the 2 pages that was the World Wide Web and discovered that there was fuck all in the way of information and that it was highly illegal in Australia back then to distill anything.
Yes.
So I thought, I
Yeah.
am fucking in on this big time. And so I started asking old men for hints and tips. And one old man said, yeah, no, can't do much to help you. But I can show you a thing I've got sitting around under the house. So I've gone with him under the house, and I'm not afraid because fucking you can only get axe murdered once. Give a shit, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
so underneath the house we go, and fuck me, all of this under area, which is dug out, is dug more room out, is this whole fucking massive distillation setup. And I've gone, oh, mind blown. And then he's taking me through the whole process of how it all goes. And essentially, the first bit was boil the water, a big tub for boiling water, and that was gas fired. And then he had a tub for making beer. The beer is the fermented part of the grain. It's where the yeast is added to the grain, and it turns into the initial alcohol thing. They call that the beer, and then that is effectively strained off into the distillation process. The heat goes under the beer. Alcohol evaporates at a lower temperature than water, and so it will rise to the top of the fractionating column quicker than the water will. And the more fractions you get, the more opportunity you give the alcohol to go up faster.
Yeah.
It's a whole science in itself. We won't go into that. And then drip, drip, drip. I can just picture the labels on the bottle of AZ Homebrew as he is now with the mask giving a double thumbs up. Oh, fuck yes. How good would that
great
be?
label. Yeah. Yeah. No, that I had to say that. That would be a very good label.
Get that.
There you go.
Yeah. That would be a good label. Oh, fuck.
That would be a very good. You could get our friend Drake Magnum to do it. Got a picture of the two of us done by Drake Magnum. I'll try and where are we? No, that's banners. Brand. Oh, just realized we don't have a logo up. There we go. I must have one somewhere. No, that's but it's bugging me. Oh, overlay. That's what I want. I knew I'd get there eventually.
Overlay. He needs overlay. Give the man overlay, or there'll be a murder.
Oh, okay.
See, I sang a little song.
One of the two of us done by Drake Magnum, but I'll show you this one.
Wow.
That style.
Nice.
There is a good one of the two of us that I use sometimes. So I was just looking through the files. This is. Where is it? No, that's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. See, that's
that makes me horny. I'm horned up just looking at that.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
thinking
he's
that's
got
the
one with
angry
that,
Aussie
with the two of
that
us.
I want to spooge on. And I'm sorry for getting graphic and rude, but I want to look at the back of that front and write things in fluids that I've produced. I'm saying if he can make you look that good, what could he do for me?
Well, no, he has. And I just don't seem to have it handy, the one with the two. But yeah, I think get like you posed with the mask and the two thumbs up, and get him to do it. Be a perfect booze label. That one. Actually, speaking about getting graphic, I got graphic on your behalf a bit earlier. Friend of the show, Kev Logan, our man in the UK, had a rough time. One of his kiddies died, and he's a few stresses going on in his life. He's going, oh, can someone, I need something positive to cheer me up. Can you share me positive things? And I responded on your behalf and said, I asked AT to send you some special love. And look, without detail, the cops were involved. And so, the thought was there.
The thought was there, but then so was the DNA evidence.
Yeah.
And which they bagged up, and quite a few more bags than they thought they'd need. Nice. Yeah, nice. Do you still have the photo? It was pre-teeth days. I think we were out at White Night, and we might have been assisted. But we were down in the Free Graffiti alley next to the theatre, and there was a get some dick up here or something.
Anal
whore. Have you still got that photo?
That actually showed, because Facebook does a thing like your memories on this day, and we just passed the date when White Night used to be on, and it was like, 5 years ago, here's a memory of you with AIDS, it was you at the anal whore picture. And as soon as she started going on, I go, okay, this is really weird, because it popped up in my feed just the other day.
I just remember doing it, and because the teeth were just grotesque at this point. They were green and horrid, and I had my really bushy beard on, and I just managed to get the eye just right for like being fucked up. And I remember the image of it was just like, that is filthy. And I was just very happy. I just thought Sorry,
I don't know if I can find the while we're talking photos. That'd be going back a very long time. I can spend a couple of hours scrolling through. The other one would be if where's the feature on Facebook that lets you explore groups, memories, because it was only a couple of days ago. It was quite weird that you brought it up, because it was only a couple of days ago. So I don't know. We can. It only does on this day. Okay. I might be able to find it if I really go. But yeah, let us continue to converse. And you never know.
We shall continue to converse in our own little world while we are looking up other things. Viewers, listeners, peeps, netizens, and calling aliens from interplanetary craft.
Calling occupants, yes.
I was calling occupants of
interplanetary craft.
I mean, I just love that song, and I realise as an adult they must have been wildly fucked up on all kinds of hallucinogens to make that song a thing that they believed in, because they saw the aliens and the Space Brothers were telling them how to make a world a beautiful place.
Yes.
one of the astronauts, just a digression,
digress.
one of the astronauts, after he retired and years later, he was one of the Apollo astronauts. He's one of the guys that never got on the moon, but he was like flying around in the
in the heavens,
in the fucking command module.
Yeah.
Anyway, they used to get the command module pilots to have it's the kind of sleep that single sailor ocean voyagers do. Like they sleep 20 minutes every 3 hours.
Yeah.
And because they've got to be the lifeline to the boys. If the boys are in shit at all, he's got to be fucking right on it. Anyway, so he was saying, you get up there and by the end of the Apollo missions, they were there like 2.5, 3 days. And so you're there circling around the moon going, oh, okay, wake up. I'm good. I can just sleep down. Oh, now I'm awake again. And, you get wildly fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
And the ground control and NASA says you will start to see shit.
Yes.
All you need to do is you just need to get on the comms and tell us about it, and we will give you hardcore telemetry readings to say there's something there, there's nothing there. And we will never lie to you, it's going to be fine. And so this guy basically said he was fine during the whole flight. He was there 2.5 days. He hadn't had a hallucination. And it just worked out that this particular schedule, they said, well, we've worked out you can sleep for an hour.
Right.
The way things are going, you can sleep for a whole hour. And then we'll wake you up with coffee and a feed. And, you'll go again, and then we'll do the 20 minutes thing. And he goes, great. And he said the only freaky thing happened when he had these only hours sleep was he had this full-on dream about the connectedness of the universe and how everything was one, and that God was only facets of the single great being that is the universe as seen by different cultures and peoples around the planet and probably the universe. Everyone had their own picture of what they'd seen of the same thing, that there was one great Godhead, and the great Godhead was the universe experiencing itself. That basically the world is our spaceship, and we have to take care of it and take care of each other. So then he's woken up and gone, right, well, that was different. And this is like an Air Force combat pilot, right?
Yeah.
It's this fucking full-on dream and gone, I don't think I'm going to deal with that very well. So Capcom says, is everything good? And he says, sort of. I've had a dream. It was pretty full on. And they've gone, is it going to interfere with the mission? And he said, no, but profoundly, yes. So while the lads were still on the moon, they've got him to talk to the psychs about this dream. And the psychs have gone, well, there's nothing particularly damaging that. Sounds like a kind of cool dream, actually. Yeah. Do you feel kind of good? And he says, well, yeah, I feel kind of good about the world. I think this frigging Cold War is ridiculous. And they said, well, that's good. That's a good thing. And he said, I'm really worried about the world. I think we should do more about pollution and stuff. And they said, well, again, a good thing. And then he said, yeah. And I think religion's stupid. And they said, yeah, keep that one to yourself. And so he's come back and he said, oh, look, advise me. Do I tell the boys when they get back on board what I've seen? And they've said, no, you're the pilot. Get home
Yes.
and then tell them.
Keep it
Because
to yourself till you get home.
I
Yeah.
don't want to hear that shit coming out of your
Yeah.
mouth while you're flying.
Yeah.
Just wanna,
Yeah.
So yeah, effectively, yeah, calling occupants of interplanetary craft. And this guy, of course, was never on drugs. He was never on any substances apart from sex and booze. You know, he was all American fucking jock fighter pilot.
Yeah.
And he's got this amazing full-on spiritual dream happen while he's in space and gone, how the fuck do I deal with that? And apparently, yeah, he came home and was really involved in environmental conservation. He was really involved in peace efforts. He was really involved in science for the betterment of humanity. You know, he was that guy, and what was very weird was every time he tried to do something really sweet for people, they fucking paid him a fortune. Ended up being on the UN as he was ambassador for children, he was ambassador for peace, he was ambassador for environment. You know, they kept on bringing him back for doing other things, and they gave him an official diplomatic position. It was like roving diplomat.
Right.
Not attached to any country, but you know, two people fucking having an argy, fucking throw him in there before they go the nut, and he goes, "Hey guys, fucking let's sit down, have a barbecue, and check it out. It's gonna be cool." And now apparently he's very good at it, and I wish I could remember his bloody name. It was in the later Apollos. It was somewhere between 15 and 17. Oh, you know, it'll come to me.
Sure.
So, yes, our forebears were on a shitload of drugs, basically to be receiving bloody what do they call it? Messages from aliens. And the the thing that has happened recently is there's two things that have happened recently in science. First thing is it's a theory about the Higgs boson. The Higgs boson.
We're really out there now. Let's go.
Yeah, the Higgs boson gives everything mass, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good thing. We like things having mass.
We like having mass. Yeah.
Yeah, mass is good. It stops us going through walls and falling through the floor, only to see people shagging. Sorry, embarrassing, just falling to the center of the earth. I'll stop looking. Oh, I've got to keep looking because we're all falling at once. Anyway, so the Higgs boson, technically, like any other thing, is in a high-ish energy state to exist. Everything likes to be in a lower energy state. This is entropy 101. Everything likes to lose energy if it can and be in a lower energy state. That's as far as I'm going with the science there. And it is prophesied that if one Higgs boson basically collapses into a lower energy state, then all Higgs bosons around it will also collapse into a lower energy state. And this thing will propagate out at the speed of light. The laws of physics will change, probably to the point where the universe will disappear. But don't worry, because you'll have between 50,000 and 13.5 billion years for it to get to you. Because it has to propagate at the speed of light. You don't know where it's going to start. It could be really close to you, or it could be really far away. If it's really far away, it will be shit terrifying. because you'll see it coming. You'll know 1,000 years ahead what the fuck it is, and go. So what are we going to do? Nothing. How are we going to get around it? We're not. All right. Can we fly away? No. You know, a lot of negative. Should we make our peace with God?
Yes.
If you can find him. Seems to be conspicuously absent during this time of difficulty. Ask your local priest, pastor, or rabbi about significant absence of said creator while the fucking universe is uncreating. Might be time to step in, big guy. Anyway, so there's that. The other thing that's been going on recently is Beetlejuice. Is set to go supernova. It's just set to go supernova and has been set to go supernova for a couple of thousand years. It'll go supernova at any time now, and in astronomical terms, any moment means between now and 2,000 years. That's like the blink of an eye. It's going to go off.
Which of course actually means it might have happened a couple thousand years ago. We just haven't seen it yet. How far away?
It's quite a ways away. I don't know offhand, but it is quite a ways away. And you're right. It's definitely years before we see it. Definitely. However, when it goes off, for about 2 to 3 weeks, we won't have nighttime at all.
It'll be that bright.
That bright that it'll be daylight all the time for about 3 weeks. And the nighttime daylight will have a slightly red tinge to it, red-orange tinge. And the daylight will be bright as fuck and have a slightly yellowish tinge to the sky, which would be fucked up. That's coming. They've worked out how much time we would have to work out that a gamma ray burst was heading in our direction. 0. By the time we saw it, it'd be starting to eat the biosphere off the planet. Like our satellites would go, and signal back. And by the time the signal hit and the first scientist went, oh, fuck, that's as far as you get out. They can't hit an elephant at this dist. Then they also worked out that supernova will be pretty fine with, because the solar wind will actually protect us from most of the radiation from a supernova, unless it was like next door. If it was our own sun, for example, or let's just say a random sun came over for dinner, got drunk, and decided to go supernova. We might be in trouble there. But any sun that is, any star that is anything that we can see, solar wind will protect us from it. So that's what's going on in the world of your astrophysics. Still no closer to finding out what dark matter or dark energy is. The problem's not getting urgent, but it is getting insistent, because the rate of expansion of the universe is speeding up. And it's speeding up to the point where mass is starting to get thrown off. And this is disturbing scientists. All right, so what people think when they go, oh, the universe is expanding, is they think the stars and everything are getting further apart. Well, they are. That is happening. The space between the things is getting, it's like more space is being made between stars, like that.
Yeah.
What's also happening is the space between atoms in everything, you, me, table, my dick, is also expanding, right? We are getting bigger along with the universe, but we're getting bigger at a different rate. So the planet that we're on and the us that we're in is expanding a little less full on than the distance between stars. So the space being made, so space is being made in between stars. And that is accelerating again. So they measured it. They realized that the expansion was accelerating because they thought it would slow down, accelerating. They've measured it again, and they've gone, it's actually accelerating again. It's starting to look exponential. So unless we get a handle on what the fuck's going on within the next 4,000 or 5,000 years, might be lights out.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
It's like, there you go. So, it's a bit like climate change. Not going to affect me. I don't give a fuck. And that's about it for freaky, scary shit from the stars this week.
I did see an article just in the last week or two going about astronomers think everyone is not as freaked out as they should be about the possibility of a devastating solar flare from our sun. Because a lot of them lie awake at night going, oh my God, this could just happen at any fucking moment and we'd be so fucked.
Not only could it not happen at any moment, and it could, the worst thing about it is if it happens and we're not ready for it, it will fuck us over so hardcore that we exfoliate 90% of the planet from humans straight away. Because what you're going to imagine is it's a world without electricity forever, right? Until you get people that can put transformers back online. And these things are made in Germany and Japan, right? Australia, not your number one customer concern.
Yeah.
They're not going to be shipping them out here as a priority. We're thinking Germany and Japan, then America, then the UK. Poor old fucking Africa can just continue having fucking tribal warfare. It's not like they'll notice anyway. Where's the bullets not coming from? Why are we running a bullet? So basically, think of all the things that you do that require electricity, and all of that's gone, right? All is gone. So it's going to be a life of fire and blade. Happily, in Australia, culturally, we are much, much more likely to band together and to look after one another. If people in the street can be coaxed to get the street together and say, okay, guys, we're going to band together and we're going to get through this together, that'll cascade out, and you'll hopefully find centres. Ironically enough, they think they're going to gravitate around shopping malls. You'll find people going to these shopping malls going, okay, guys, we can do this. We can get through this together, and start to bring and build new systems and new local governments that will then spread to federal governments, and continuity will be restored through new power sources, through new accounting procedures, through, right? America will implode. They've got way too much hate and fear to deal with, and they've got way too many guns to back it up with. And that's just not a good recipe. The thing that scared me once was I found out that in most nightclub fires, the death toll
Is
was
from trampling.
from people being trampled.
Yeah.
That's shocking. I've been in oh, fuck. I've been in very crowded, fast-moving crowds in Australia. Shit, I was in a rave once that got raided by the cops, and believe me,
Sudden
was
movement.
there was good reasons why everyone should have fucking got out of there. I mean, I remember seeing stars, and then someone said cops, and I'm going, "Oh, where's the pretty cops?" No, cops, we've got to go. And as we were going, I saw people fall over, and then people would reach down and pick them up and basically carry them till they're on their feet and go. And all these people were falling over and then getting picked up.
Yeah.
Seated in mosh pits all around Australia. Someone goes down, they get picked up.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen it in fucking railway stations. People fall over on the stairs, you know, and it's peak hour, and all the people around them will pick them up. And so, yeah, it's. I'm just happy to say that it's an Australian cultural thing. And
Yeah.
if you take that and extend it further, then what you've basically got is a situation where people will go, all right, we are better off helping each other out and
Yeah.
looking after one another. We will all actually get something to eat.
Yeah.
If we're not trying to steal off because the other thing too is that because of the nature of Australia's climate,
Yeah.
you've always got to be thinking about the day after tomorrow. You can drink this water and piss in it now, but what are you going to do Thursday? You know, I could go into the supermarket and steal all the food. Good. Then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know, where's the supermarket going to get the next food from? You're better off finding the staff of the supermarket and going, okay, guys, we're going to keep the doors basically shut. All the girls are going to be bagging up
Yeah.
a bag of shopping for mum with 1, 2, 3, and 4 kids.
Yeah.
How are they going to pay? They're either going to pay with IOUs or they're going to pay with bloody items, barter,
Yes.
or they're going to pay with labour because they can get their guy to come in and go do stuff for the mall society. Because you're going to need guys to act as security, you know?
Yeah.
And you don't give them T-shirts with security. You give them T-shirts with safety on it.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to need people who are going to have to look after the old folks, who are going to keep an eye on the kids.
Yeah.
And then the easiest thing to do is you get the old folks to look
Yes.
after the kids.
Yeah.
And basically that chills everyone out,
Yeah.
gives everyone something to do. You work out how to get some power to the air conditioning, you know, because basically the fuses are fried.
Yes.
But once you can get past that, you'd be
Yeah.
right. So that requires an electrical engineer. You need to find these people. And you're not going to find them by fucking rioting and punching on. You're going to find them by attracting everyone with food, security, safety, and medicine. First thing you do in that mall is you find the pharmacists straight away. You find the pharmacists and you go, righto, you've got to go to work. And we're going to have guys guarding the doors because every junkie in the world is going to want what's in that safe. You know, and then what we've got to do is we've got to work out who's going to work out how to get the truck going so we can go to the depot and get more medicine. And we've got to find 3 doctors. And the 3 doctors are going to be basically based in that mall all the time. They're going to have the fabric shop with beds in to act as a hospital. All of a sudden, you've created a little community centre.
Yeah.
And you're making people feel a little bit normal. People who feel a little bit normal will protect that normal. If you get a nasty little warlord coming over the hill going, oh, you look like you've got stuff, I'll take it. All of a sudden, you've got a lot of people very invested in making that place stay exactly how it is. Thank you very much. And all the guys that you've got paying for stuff with Labor will get very fucking antsy about letting these people come in and hurt the old, the children, and the women who are, again, paying with Labor and working. So it all cycles around. You look after one another, you find skills, you coordinate those skills, and then it basically expands and it spreads and spreads and spreads. Eventually the police come. Yay. Because that'll chill people out as well. Eventually the fireys will come. Yay. Because that'll chill people out as well.
A remarkably sane plan for the apocalypse. So,
well, yeah, you know, and basically what I've been doing with a few other people is I've been putting emails. In fact, fuck it, I'm going to announce it here.
Okay,
ladies and gentlemen, of the grotesque channel that is AD Talking to Angry. What I would like for you to do is to write an email and a letter, like a physical letter, to your MP, your federal MP, and your state MP, and say, we are worried about the possibility of solar flare. What we would like you to do is to purchase extra transformers. I mean, research this on the internet, you'll find it all. Extra transformers from Germany. It will be an expensive thing, but just have them lying around, you know, around the power stations and the big power grid distributors. You'll need about, and this is going to be costly, you'll need about 850 of them. But if you start buying them now, right, and you buy them over a period of between 5 and 8 years, you will have the whole country basically with these transformers in place, ready to go when they're needed. So if a solar flare hits, instead of fucking 10 years without power, it's 3 weeks without power. The other thing that we would like you to do is, using federal and state initiative, have an off switch that is basically tuned to the 2 satellites. I can't remember the fucking names. There's the 2 satellites that are the solar flare warning. And as soon as we hear the warning, they will turn off the grid in Australia. Australia-wide, turn the grid right off. That'll mean
I'm going to cut across you because I'm not getting a natural opportunity to do it. And I'm just going to introduce what I'm doing here. This is my latest concoction. It's just vodka, but it's been infused with a herb called sumac. Now, it's gone very, very, very dark. It's so dark it's purple. It's red, so dark it's purple. And the flavor might actually be too strong. Sumac's a sort of salty, sour spice. And I haven't taste tested this. I just made it. So I might dilute this quite a bit, but I'm going to taste test it first to see what it's like. Oh, it's good. And I am going to dilute it. Good to know. Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Good to know. Just punching my teeth through the back of my neck.
Yeah. And, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a very unusual martini with this. Be very herby and spicy, because a martini is usually just vodka or gin and vermouth. But I'm not going to make it all this. I'm going to make 1 ounce of this. I was looking for the cork, and 1 ounce of unadulterated. I'm going to dilute this, but I'm going to put it in one of the big skulls and then top it up with unadulterated vodka, my giant Costco bottle of vodka. So I'm going to do 1 ounce of the sumac vodka, 1 ounce of just vodka, and 1 ounce of the very herby Australian vermouth. So this will be a very unusual
it'll have some taste to it. That's for damn sure.
It will. Because normally if they you want some taste in martini, you put an olive or even olive brine in it to make it have a bit more taste. Because if it's just gin and vermouth, if it's a neutral vermouth and a neutral gin or a neutral vodka, it's not actually going to have a huge amount of taste. But this has got and forget the ridiculous James Bond idea. You do stirred, not shaken, with the old martini. Although I did hear a little expert advice: if you're using overproof gin or vodka, you might shake it. But that shaken, not stirred, is a. We actually had this whole conversation about Fleming and why he would have come up with that. So I'm going to filter out my ice. And you don't often get red martinis.
No, you don't often get red martinis, but I am very interested. Ooh, that looks, because to me, that looks orange.
Yeah, it's actually a purple red. So the webcam's giving us a slightly false color.
Wow. Like anything purple drink-wise is hard to do.
That has so much more flavor than a martini. I'm not a big martini drinker.
True.
Because, there's usually not a lot of flavor in a martini as far as I'm concerned. This has a lot of, this is just like a herbal concoction. The average martini drinker would not know what to make of this. So it's not going to go down in history as my favorite drink, but it's a really interesting one because I got the flavor of that sumac, and then I went through the herbs that are in this. This is an Australian vermouth, proudly made with the herbs from the land of the contrarieties.
Ooh.
It's got strawberry gum, wattle seed, river mint.
I have to be away for just a moment. I shall return.
That's okay. You do that. So AZs have had to depart because of, emergency measures. That happens from time to time. Lion Spider, you like 2 or 3 olives in a martini. See, I don't like olives. Another reason I don't drink martini, because olives are a really common garnish for them, and I don't like olives. The sort of classic vermouth drinks are a martini, which has the white spirit, usually gin, but also vodka, and the Manhattan. And I'm a bit more of a fan of the Manhattan. The Manhattan is whiskey, usually bourbon whiskey, and vermouth. I'm a bit more of a fan of a Manhattan than I am of a martini. Of course, the other thing I like about Manhattan is remembering the really old episode of The Simpsons where Bart becomes the barman for the Springfield Mafia, and he turns out to be really good at it. And when another crime family is having a meeting there and they want to drink from this famous bartender that everyone's been talking about, and Bart's not there, and someone else tries to make it, and the other mobster drinks it and goes, "Oh, why would you insult me with this flat and flavorless Manhattan?" Jeremy, what's the purpose of olives in martini? It's taste. It's to give it a bit of taste, make it a bit salty. You might be right, Megaleech. There might have been some explosive AIDS-urea going on there. Ah, you're into marinated olives, Lion Spider. See, yeah, I've just never been able to get them. And I don't really like pickled stuff either. Like some people, another old school bar garnish is a pickled onion, or even as a thing to eat while you're having a drink, a pickled onion. Yeah, no, I don't like pickled things. Like often when you're in Asian restaurants, they'll have various salad fixins that are pickled, and I'm not a fan. Like pickled cabbage and pickled whatever. I've just never been able to get into pickled things. Pickles, which is of course pickled cucumbers. Americans just call pickles. Yep, no, I can't do it. Can't do it. Don't like it at all. So it's just one of those things. It's kind of interesting how many of the classic cocktails I don't like. I'm not into martinis. I don't hate martinis, but I'm not into them. Fucking hate Negronis. They're like, I know I think I say this every second live stream. Negronis, which are really trendy, they have the very bitter Italian aperitif in them, and I've tasted multiple variations of Negronis made by lots of different people, lots of different bars, and the Campari, I just can't do it. I just cannot get on board with Campari. Not for me at all. Lion Spider, you not fond of pickled either, but you like olives marinated in seasoned oil. Yeah, I mean that's Mrs. Angry likes olives. I just don't. It's one of those things. Don't like coffee, so I hate espresso martinis. There's like two of the trendiest cocktails around at the moment: espresso martinis and Negronis, and I can't stand either of them. Really not my thing. And yeah, Martin, like I said, this is this one is an acquired taste. It tastes like, I was just thinking, AIDS's come back. I see there's a little waving thing. I'm trying to wait. What's he doing? Where is he? Add to stream. There he is.
Hello. Thanks for letting me back on the stream after I had to go away.
Yeah, that's okay.
Do things with a shovel and spade.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm not allowed to have plumbing, but Angry says I'm not allowed to have plumbing, so I've just got to have a spade.
What to do with this, because this is very strong, the flavor in this sumac vodka. So either keep it like this and just use small amounts and drink, or put this into a larger decanter and top it up with vodka, and then there's lots more of it, but the sumac taste will be diluted.
Leave it like that, dude. Leave it. Yeah. Leave the one little hardcore skull going, I could eat you and your family and stack the bones up in the shower. And, basically before your security system went off, and just have it there going, I'm a threat. I'm everything that Angry is. I am cultured, but I'm a threat. Yeah. Understand, therefore, of which you walk into, young son. And if you're going to sup with the devil, take a long spoon.
I love it, because that sounds really profound, and yet possibly at the same time doesn't mean anything. If you're going to sup with the devil, take a long spoon. You can read so much into that. I love that.
Good, isn't it? I got told that when I was having a fight with a priest, and I was told that by another priest.
Conversation.
I was told that by another priest when I was discussing how I was about to have a blue with this other priest, And he said, "Ooh, you've taken on a lot there, because he's a bad cunt." And I had never heard a priest talk about anyone that way. And he said,
Yeah.
"Oh, you've taken a lot there, because he's a bad cunt." And I'm going, "Oh, shit." And he says, "Yeah, man, when you sup with the devil, take a very long spoon." And so, yeah, I went into this blue with this priest, and straight up, he tried to corner me with going, "Oh, the guys all reckon you're insane." And I've gone, that would be very hurtful if I
Yeah.
didn't already think it.
Yes.
And I thought, that's interesting. He's gone sideways at me. He hasn't come straight up. He's gone sideways, and I thought, that's really interesting. And I thought, the next thing he's going to do is going to go through my friends. And I thought, that's a foolish thing to do, because if you go through some of them, they will come into this office and kick fuck out of you. And so, as we were having this interview, he did it. He went sideways, and I laughed. And he said, "Well, what?" And I said, "Oh, some of these guys that you're talking about, if word gets back that you've said this about them, they will come into this office and kick the fuck out of you." "Oh, yeah, that's not very clever. They'll go to jail." "Yes, but you will never walk again, and you will be raped by orderlies until you die. They will write things in their jism and your blood on your forehead for
Yeah.
other people to laugh at.
Yeah.
You will shit yourself in bed, and you will feel nothing but misery, because you're a Catholic and they won't let you die. Think very carefully about what you're going to say next." And I won the fight. And he didn't talk to me much after that, which
No.
was fine by me.
Big wonder.
I'm glad that you've made a martini that is kick-ass, and I want you to keep that skull with the sumac in it going high. I'm aggressive.
I'm going to a few more. I'll try and it's basically, well, I'm going to find a vodka cocktail and substitute this very strongly flavored vodka in it and see what it does.
Yeah.
I'll make one on Thursday night as well, I think. I really I just want a sweeter drink now, and I found this one called a Bee Sting that has scotch and honey liqueur in it, and I have those things. In fact, here we go. All right, so cocktail shaker, because this has egg white in it, which is one of my favorite things to put in a cocktail. Put my little stirrer over here. Put this one back in the fridge, the vermouth.
I didn't know you put vermouth in the fridge.
Because it's wine, and go off.
It makes sense.
You don't have to put it in the fridge if you're going to drink it inside a month, but I don't think I'm going to drink that inside a month.
Inside a month, yeah, no, it's only a flavour, unless you're a mad keen martini drinker, a traditional martini drinker.
Now, my big repertoire here. Where did I put the honey liqueur? There it is. It's bright yellow, very easy to see. Look at this one. I like this. It's called Liquor 43. It's just called number 43.
Liquor 43. Which is frightening, because there's 42 others. Have a go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Chanel number 5, but they really just kept trying. And I want some juice, which I have here. Lemon and lime juice. And, egg white. I've got egg white in the fridge here.
I'm a bit afraid that you're going to bring a fucking nuclear device out in a minute.
No, it's a little bit involved, but not quite that involved.
I'm just, you just keep on bringing stuff in. It's like, and now I need the B2 Spirit Bomber to drop a B76 down so that I can just squeeze a little bit of the plutonium out.
Yeah. Right, so this one, my version of the Bee Sting, I'm just slightly improvising some of the ingredients. 1 ounce scotch. 1 ounce. The recipe I saw actually said a different honey liqueur, but this is basically a honey liqueur. So and that's the wrong thing to pour it in, but fucking hell, what's going on here? Right. 1 ounce of liquor 43, and then we're just putting a little bit in. This is one of this one, Fernet Branca, is one of these things that only one distillery is allowed to make, the Fernet Branca.
Okay.
The secret formula of Fernet Branca has been based on an infusion from a unique blend of select blossoms and rare aromatic herbs, carefully aged in the historic Branca cellars. So only like one place is allowed to make this. It's not Fernet, but this is like, you know, it's a bitter thing. You get a lot of bitter aperitifs around Italy and France, but this is, you know, a particular one. A little bit of that. Now, it said another juice, but I've got some fresh lime juice and fresh lemon juice.
And you do like mixing your citruses. I've seen you do it before. I don't know if I agree, but I've seen you do it.
Seeing you do it. And I think that's it's a dash of bitters on top when I'm done. Oh, wait, I didn't put the egg white in, did I? No. Won't be foamy and I like making a foamy drink.
I thought you were going to crack it. But you just took it out of a carton.
Oh, yeah, I know. I got sick of cracking eggs and separating the yolk and white. And I saw this thing, and I think it's aimed at making smoothies or, you know, fucking bros with their protein shakes or something. It's just so much easier. A carton of egg white.
I used to work in a bar that I got fired from because I was shit and sweaty.
Yeah.
And these guys would put egg white in this beer concoction they were making. To float out something. It would separate out something.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And it would allow them to put like a test tube. If you can imagine a test tube of Guinness right down the middle of this beer, it just looked spectacular. Anyway, so what they would do is they'd crack this egg, and then of course pour the white through his fingers, right? Then the eggshell would go in the bin, and then he'd pop the yolk, and then throw it to the other barman.
Yeah.
The other barman would then catch it, and then squeeze it into a drink he was making. And of course, you know, it was fucking the centerpiece because one of these drinks ended up on fire. And it was, you know, it had Zambuca and coffee, and it was all very hoity-toity, and it cost a fortune. What are you putting in there?
This is Peychaud's bitter. It's probably the second most traditional bitters after the old Angostura, but it's a very red bitters. Angostura is a bit more browny, orange. Look at this beautiful looking drink.
I see the foam.
You see, put the bitters on top. It really shows up on the foam.
Yep.
So, let me do this. Never made this one before, so. Oh, god damn, that's good.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's a variation on a whiskey sour. Good whiskey sour is whiskey, lemon, and egg white, and usually a sweetener. This doesn't have the sweetener, but it does have the honey liqueur, which is pretty sweet. But it has Fernet Branca, which is bitter. So it's a fun variation. I probably could have done a little bit less the lemon juice in there, but it's pretty good.
Well, it looks like the kind of thing you could quietly sip on and get completely fucking hammered. Because I've seen you make some vodka things that are basically this kind of vodka mixed with colouring, and this other kind of vodka mixed with colouring, and the third kind of vodka with no colouring at all, but
Yeah.
stronger than the other two,
Yeah.
and put in a version of drinking vessel.
Mm.
And then you've said something like, that's really only one standard drink. And I'm going,
It's just
that's
vodka.
not
So,
a
yeah.
that's not a real thing that you've said there. That is a solid porky. Because there's about 6 standard drinks in that.
Yeah.
But I'll drink it anyway because I don't care about brain cells. I've got
Yeah.
enough. They're working so far. Give a shit.
Yeah.
Um,
With my very herby vodka, obviously it would lend itself to a Bloody Mary. I don't like tomato juice that much, so I've never really made Bloody Marys. But
I
if you
love Bloody Marys. I love Bloody Marys to death.
yeah,
A herby Bloody Mary sounds like just the kind of thing I'd be getting right into. Fuck, I haven't got into tomato juice for a long time. I've got to fucking get back into the tomato juice and then start mixing iron brew and vodka in it. Oh, yeah, because a Bloody Mary in the morning after you've had a big night fix you right up.
yeah,
I don't want to go to work, Bloody Mary. Right to go, get me on a tram. Madam, I know that you're old and got a cane. Get the fuck out of my seat or I'll punch you. It'll set you up for the morning. You there, young punk, listening to your emo songs in your headphones. They're way too loud. You can't hear them, sir. I'm still going to punch you in the face, though, and the cops are going to arrest you. That's actually a true story. That fucking a good friend of ours, actually. It was Morton, actually, who told me the story. He was sitting on this train, kids listening to his music. You can't hear it. And this guy in a suit sat right next to him and starts to shout at him. And kid's like, hang on. Turns his headphones off. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What's wrong? Fucking rah, 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 rah. You kids today. And he's going, look, I'm really at a loss to why I've offended you. Then he hits the button, old guy. I demand the police here now. Fucking train stops. Cops come on. This guy was abusing me and was threatening to hit me. And was listening to his music way too loud. And then basically half the carriages got up and gone, none of that is real. None of that has happened. This kid has done nothing wrong and has spoken maybe 5 words. This guy has come on with all kinds of aggression. None of that has happened. And happily, 2 girls down the back whispered to the cops. I've actually got this on video phone. And they were different. They didn't know each other. So they had different angles. Because as they saw this brewing, they've flipped out. But yeah, no, half the carriages got up and said, it's fucking wrong. Morton, of course, has gone fucking right for the throat and gone, this is complete bullshit. This is completely wrong. And has got within arm's reach of old guy and nearly copped one to the head. And he's like ducked back and gone, no, I'm not getting involved in this with cops around, and just backed off. The guy has said to our mutual friend, oh, yeah, you'll want to watch yourself attacking me like that. And he's just like looked at him gone, the fuck?
Yeah.
And the cops have then said, yes, do be careful to restrain yourself. And fucking they arrest the kid and drag him off the fucking train. Happily, they also get statements from everyone around the place.
Yeah.
And you know, fucking the law of averages says that this guy had to have fucking had it jammed up his bum when the actual evidence and the many witnesses testimonies fucking was spot on, and his was full of shit and changed 4 times. But it blew everyone's mind how this guy just fucking went this kid for probably no other reason that he fucking could. Baby boomers don't shoot. Love them. Can't live with them. And you can shoot them.
Yeah. Hey,
So go
I
on.
just remembered. You probably even missed it. I named this live stream after Escaped Baboons. There was a story that broke just before going live. Baboons escaping from a Sydney hospital, which made me think there was like a research lab in that hospital where they were like, drilling holes in the baboon's head whenever it escaped. But there's an update here. New South Wales Health Minister says a male baboon which escaped with 2 females outside Sydney's Royal Prince Alfred Hospital was being taken there to have a vasectomy. Police and animal handlers were called in to help capture the 3 baboons, which went on the loose around 5:30. Minister says the trio were being transported from a colony in Western Sydney when they broke free. He says it's believed a faulty lock on the door of the truck was to blame for the escape, so they let themselves out, went for an inspection of the hospital out of grounds, ended up in a car park. But tomorrow the male's due for a vasectomy so he can go home with his female troop but not have any more babies. So I was thinking they were experiment monkeys, but he was just getting the snip because apparently they've decided the colony's big enough and he's a mad rooter. And they had, and I found it interesting. They were transporting him with 2 females, which I assume is like to keep him calm or something.
I was going to say they've let wife and girlfriend come with him. It's going to be all right, sweetie. It's fine.
Yeah.
You're not going to be less of a man. You're not going to be less of a man. Everyone's going to be tapping the rock for you, hon. We always have. And you'll be back up to it within a week. They say a week, yeah. Don't worry, it's a local. You won't even go to sleep. It'll be fine. Or unless you want to go to sleep. You never know what we might get up with you. Yes. So, yeah, I think that's what it was. I think they were just there to, give him moral support. And because they worry, and they'll be sitting in the waiting room going, is he finished yet? No, it's all good. Doctor will come out. The operation went very well. You'll be tapping the rock in no time. So, yes, we're very happy. You can go home safe. And, it'd be like that.
Happy to learn that they weren't experiment monkeys because there's a bit of that goes on. Like I was working at Melbourne Uni years ago. There was a job that people had to go in and basically upgrade networks in all the buildings, and a lot of buildings at Melbourne Uni, and you have to do one. And when we started to look at the logistics, we were like, someone has to do it in the morgue one night because we were doing the upgrades at night to have the minimum disruption. Someone has to go in the morgue at night. Someone has to go in the research lab with the primates where they've got the fucking holes drilled in their skulls and electrodes. And that's the thing Melbourne Uni doesn't advertise, but they do animal experiments. And so we were just taunting who's going to get the job of going in the fucking research lab with probably endless monkey screams all night, and who's going to go into the morgue at night and try and convince themselves that when you see all the body parts in jars, nothing's going to reanimate, come and get you when you turn your back on it. So knowing that the baboon was just going in for the snip has cheered me up quite a bit.
Cheered you up quite a lot. Do you know I did a student film once at our alma mater?
Yeah.
And it was about a guy who worked at a funeral home falling in love with one of the clients and stealing her. Interesting film. And the girl I got to work with, because I was the freak who was doing all this.
Of course you were. That's not typecast. That's fine.
Weird though, I had no lines. Obviously the dead girl had no lines. The only line I had was "You're beautiful," as I tried to get her on a train. And 2 things happened. We had hired a section of train track so that we could film there on an old station. And we'd hired this area so that there'd be no trains come through from this time to this time. As we're filming, a fucking train comes through and the fucking drivers have got this fucking arrogant, smug little, don't get on the track when there's trains. And the director's gone, well, that was smug and shit. Let's finish the
Yeah.
shot. And we finish the shot. Train comes back. We're finished. Train comes back during our time slot. And the director goes, right. And then he goes straight up to the station master and says, "You know that $350 that I gave to you? Oh yeah, you can give that back to me now." What? We rented that space and it was useless because you sent a fucking train through it twice. You put all of my people in danger. This is why we rented it. This is why we went through the paperwork. And you'll see here, flippity flippity flip, on this page, it says if anyone breaks the contract, then it's void. So it's void. Give me my money back now. I'll take it in cash. So yeah, this guy had to give him money back and was like, yeah, fucking good one. Students get one up over the fucking townies for a change. And then we went to a funeral home and they were really lovely. They were really nice. And they said, yeah, use whatever you need. And they let us use the makeup area, which was really fucking exactly like you'd think it'd be. There's a slab. And we tried to make the girl as comfortable as possible, but it's a slab. And I was doing fucking incompetent makeup on her face, which for the blooper reel they took a photo of going, Jesus, how bad is this? Because they only shot her from the other side where she'd done it and looked great.
Yeah.
But when I was doing it, was
But you were
fucking
trying
terrible.
to be and
Yeah. Anyway, so then one of the scenes was I come out of the fridge where they keep the bodies and I look around to see if anyone's looking. Then I go back in and shut the door. And the next thing you see is me shuffling the girl out of the premises. Anyway, we needed to get some cutaways because we fucked up that first day shooting. The first day shooting was great. There was no one in there. The cool room was cool, but we did about a half a dozen takes. But it turned out the light was putting lens flare on, so we had to go to a different time. The people at the funeral home were lovely. They let us in there again. Sadly, this time round, fridge was full. So I go in there going, do. Oh, I see dead people.
Yes.
And a shitload of them all laid out on racks. Buck. And I saw a couple of naked dead people because their relatives apparently hadn't brought their funeral clothes to be put them in, which they do that there. Also, if they can't slip the clothes on, what they do is they cut them down the back, they fold them in, and then they tack so what they can get hold of so that it's all nicely tucked in, and they put the body down, and of course they look great. And sometimes, it's not quite fitting, so they slice it and then they fit it nicely, tuck it in here, let it out there. And they look great for the open coffin. Yeah. And
they're very good at that sort of thing.
Oh man, the tricks that they use are incredible.
I just remembered something that would tie this all together. Baboons, Royal Prince, not so much Baboons, but they were at Royal Prince Alfred Hospital, which is in Western Sydney, and dead bodies and stuff. Story I got told ages ago. For those who don't know, RPA, Royal Prince Alfred Hospital, well, it's a different hospital on the other side of the road, but it's two sides of Missenden Road. There's Royal Prince Alfred Hospital. I'm looking at it on the map. Across the road is King George Memorial Hospital. But, a normal human just goes, it's a big hospital complex with a road running down the middle of it. There are underground passages, so they don't have to move people across the road. They can do it through tunnels. And an ex of mine was a nurse, and they got told all sorts of stories. Back in the day, nurses were trained in hospitals. Since the 80s, they've been trained at uni. Late 80s, they've been trained at uni. But they used to be trained in hospitals. So trainee nurses would be 16 to 18-year-old girls who'd never been away from home. They'd be living in the nurses' residences, and it's all wide-eyed and it's all new to a lot of them. And the young med students were, always eager to sort of get somewhere with the nursing students. And this story from RPA goes because the morgue was underground, and the underground tunnel is spooky enough, but when you're going to a morgue, it's spookier. And the first time students were ever shown a dead body is usually a bit of an event. And they go down this weird fluorescent lit tunnel to naked bodies under sheets. And the story goes, and autopsies were done. So all the fucking autopsy tools are laid out next to the bodies under the table. And they're not only going to see dead bodies for the first time, they're going to see one opened up for the first time. So all the autopsy tools are there. So story goes, some young male med student who wanted to have a bit of fun with the female nurses is lying under one of the sheets. And the idea is they're going to scare them. And story goes, one time the nurses stand up next to this gurney with what they think is a dead body, and it suddenly lurches up and goes, oh, but it's next to fucking autopsy tools. And one of the nurses they all freak out and scream, but one of them freaks out and screams and grabs a fucking, it's not even a scalpel, it's for cutting through fucking bones, and just goes, stabs, stabs the med student to death. And that's probably apocryphal. It's probably not true, but it's a story all the nurses would get told. And I just love it.
I have heard two stories, one very similar, maybe the same. This was in the United States. They took him down. They were trying to scare the young nurses. Up he comes, and she grabs basically a blunt instrument and goes, oh yeah, we get these down in Louisiana, and fucking thumps him over the head. Apparently doesn't kill him, but down he goes and says, yeah, you zombies, man. You can't let them wander around. They cause no end of trouble. Just cut him up now, he'll be fine. And she's talking in a Cajun accent, which I can't do properly.
Again, you get that.
And everyone's looking at her going, fuck, what have you seen? What have you done? And
the world of Baron Samedi is down there,
yeah, fucking zombies. Yeah, I just hit him on the fucking head till they're dead. You'd be right. And the other one that I read online, which had a veil of truth to it, was basically driving instructors. What's the most fucked up thing you've seen happen? Anyway, so young student drivers drive down the road, and squirrel runs out in front of the car. And instructor says, look, just run over it. Then eventually because they didn't have the dual pedals, eventually the drive instructor has to get his leg all the way over the wheel well and onto the brake, because the squirrel has missed the car, got to the other side of the road, and so she's followed it over to the other side of the road and is running down mailboxes and garbage bins, fucking trying to get this squirrel. And instructor thinks we're gonna die, and then gets the foot on the brake and stop. And she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I missed you." It's like, Jesus. I just love that. And apparently, it's a real thing. Really happened. Apparently, there was news reports and everything.
It's
so I just Go on.
I was just going to say I want to share before we go, because and I said, no, that's not what I want. God, why do I always forget how to do this, Brand? Okay, overlay. Because I did not find the anal whore thing. But speaking of White Knight, I did find this one where we're smiling very intensely.
I remember that one.
That might
I
have
remember that one.
been a Hornite, I'm not sure, but yeah, we're smiling really forcefully there.
I remember one of the only videos we did, I said, I'd like to thank our sponsors. And we both nearly shit ourselves laughing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was, good night. Good night. Was that the night? No, it was the next one when we found beeping, whirling things.
Oh
Was the
god.
next one.
There are so
Beeping.
many weird things at various white nights. It's
Yeah,
probably,
but we laid under the beeping, whirling things for ages because they
oh
were
my
just
god.
awesome.
Yeah, I think you were meant to do it for 5 minutes, and we did it for at least an hour. Yeah, it was
We
this
were there for an hour and a half.
It was not just a light installation; it was a sound installation as well.
Mm-hmm.
And people walked through it, and we lay down on our backs, just looking up at these things that were whirling around and beeping for at least an hour.
But we started a trend. We started a whole trend.
We were doing it.
A whole bunch of people while we were there did the same thing. And when we finally got up, or sat up because we couldn't stand up straight away.
Yeah.
I'm glad we just sat up. And there were like fucking heaps of people like laying down under the things. We were going, yeah, we did. We
were onto something. Yeah. Actually, and here's another photo I did find, which is possibly one of my favorite photos ever. Just the staging of it. It looks like and we didn't really plan it, but this is like a Renaissance painting to me.
Oh, yeah.
So that's AZ with Mistress M and Corey, Mr. Safety. And we didn't really plan that. It just happened.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Emma christened this photo Men Tears, like I haven't seen that before. But that's possibly one of my favorite photos ever, just because it looks like a Renaissance painting.
Had I crashed, or was that me fuck-assing around?
No, I think we were just fuck-assing around. I think it was like posing for the camera. I mean, you can
because
see
many times in group activities I fucking face planted after just losing all kinds of consciousness and energy. That's it. 80's out of fuel, take him home.
I think you crashed in that context. I think it was messing around, and that little tableau was just quite spontaneous. From you lying there, Emma putting her hand on your head, and Corey doing that weird crying thing, and it's just such an amazing photo. Just the structure of it.
All we really needed, and if we can Photoshop it properly, all we really need is a dagger through the neck and just blood trickling down as she's holding my head. This was a necessary death. Memento mori. Had to happen. And then she could look like one of the Borgias. That would be very cool. Wonder have we got anyone good at Photoshop?
Probably. But yeah, maybe I should reshare that picture. I'll put it on like Facebook and Twitter and say someone really talented make this look even more like a Renaissance painting. And someone would do it, I think. But I was looking for the anal whore picture and I didn't find it, but I did find another rather intensely focused smiling white knight photo. I thought like there's one year we did video and I quite like it because we're doing the bloody monopod selfie stick walking on, talking and whatnot, and there's one bit where a group of the young folk think we're taking selfie photos and they all jump in behind us, and so we go, yeah, come in, be in the selfie, and then we'll go, woo, like, okay, are you ready? 1, 2, 3, and they all go, I said, it's a video, we're shooting video. And
that was good. And we were getting a problem of we were doing the boom shots and everyone was trying to photobomb behind the fucking camera, and it was like, why would we be doing a selfie boom and not pointing the camera at us. It's a camera, and it was like a traditional looking camera with a whole fucking lens and a body and everything looking at us. It's like, guys, be observant. Come around the back. And we were telling them, no, come around the back. Come around here and bomb that way. And for some people, when we invited them to bomb, it just took all the fun out of it.
Yeah.
Some people were going, fuck yeah, let's go. Yeah. And we had this bunch of Italian guys in the same black T-shirts.
Oh, the Guido guy. Yeah.
Yeah. We just thought this was the best fun ever. And they were with us for like 5 minutes.
It was like, yeah.
Yeah, they were fucking going off. And this was clearly the most fun thing they'd done all night.
Yeah.
And we were their best buds as they bailed. And we were talking about it later and going, we did actually nothing then. All the fun that was had, they made. Good to see that it's still possible to make your own fun in this country, considering that reminds me, but I've got to write that down.
Okay. But I mean, there's whole bits of this video of us threading our way through a crowd with teeth gritted really purposefully. And I just thought it was fairly innocent, just going through this crowd going, ugh. And I get comments from friends going, oh, I've been there. I don't know what you mean. I'm not admitting anything. Just pushing through a crowd with a really intense expression on your face.
Grinding your teeth.
You can find actually. Okay, here's a bit of fun. Just because I'm about to sign off because it is 10 o'clock. But I am going to Luke at the Tubes of You. By the way, if you want a super fucking weird video, because I watch a lot of cocktail videos on YouTube, so I get recommended a lot of cocktail videos. And one that got recommended to me recently, it was like Japan's greatest bartender. It's on a channel called 88 Rising. And this dude, the videos are fucking weird. They're very elaborate videos, but there's this thing where he holds eye contact and fucking 70s, 80s porno soundtrack plays. It's like, bow, chicka, wow, wow. And it's just like, dude, okay, personal space, that eye contact thing you're doing is a bit, the videos are really fucking weird. Japan's greatest bartender who likes to hold eye contact in a really sexual way for far too long.
Is he actually that good bartender-wise?
It does very interesting things. Like they're very involved. Like everything he makes is like, a specialized, personally infused thing, or he'll grind up herbs and stuff fresh for a drink. But it's weird AF, as the kids say. I am just, look, I'm going to point people. If I do a quick search, Angry Aussie White Knight, yeah, fucking do it. Oh, yeah, White Knight 2015 is the really wild one. But yeah, go on YouTube and search Angry Aussie White Knight, and there are a couple of videos where AZ and I are having adventures. But the one from 2015 has some really funny stuff in it. But there are a bunch of stuff. So I'm just going to leave you with that. Thanks for joining in, everyone. I hope you're all looking after yourselves. Want to see you again sometime soon. But I'm going to say bye for now. Look after yourselves.
No. Thanks very much for having us on your device.